This is Valley News Live at noon.
We begin with breaking news. Good afternoon. I'm Anna Johnson. A student is under investigation today after another school violence threat surfaced at Cheyenne High School. The school was alerted to a social media post by a student last night. West Fargo police immediately assessed the threat, and at this time, they don't consider that threat credible. Students will be in campus for in-person learning for the rest of the day. The United States Supreme Court issued a ruling today concerning the abortion law recently passed in Texas known as SB 8. In an 8-1 vote, the High Court ruled that a lawsuit filed by abortion providers challenging the state's new law can move forward, and the justices will allow the law to remain in place while the case is being argued. However, the court said that a second lawsuit, this one filed by the Department of Justice, could not move forward. The law in question restricts abortions in the state after a fetal heartbeat is detected, usually around the 6th week of pregnancy. SB 8 does not rely on the state officials for enforcement, but rather empowers private citizens to sue doctors or anyone who aids in the procedure for at least $10,000. You've probably noticed that consumer prices are on the rise, and you're not wrong. In fact, November saw the highest annual inflation from the previous year since June of 1982. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index rose by 6.8% over November of 2020. Or 2000 rather. Several factors are being blamed for the soaring inflation, from the pandemic to high energy costs to supply chain chaos and high consumer demand, all leading to rising prices. Meanwhile, Minnesota regulators have signed off on higher electric and natural gas prices for Xcel Energy residential customers. The State Public Service Commission issued a news release saying that the utility had asked to increase electric rates by 9.4% and natural gas rates by 4.9%. The commission said it had approved an interim electric rate increase of 6.4% and an interim natural gas rate increase of 3.9% and has started reviewing whether to increase the rates further. Final decisions are expected in 2023. Temperatures are warming up a bit, and it's expected to be nice this weekend. But if you plan on traveling, heavy snowfall is hitting parts of the region. Let's go to Lisa Green with a first look at our weather. Lisa?
Well, good afternoon. Yes, our neighbors to the south getting hit hard by some snow, and some of our watches or warnings now are starting up right at the noon hour in places like Minneapolis, where we're in the red here, just on the edge of it, but still in the red, meaning a winter storm warning in that area. Also getting some updates on winter storm warnings in southeastern or southwestern North Dakota. That's why we're seeing some flashing there on the map. But this stretches all the way from Wyoming, the Rockies there, and then back up to the UP of Michigan. So lots of places expecting some heavy snow, perhaps 6+ inches of snow in some of these areas. As we are taking a look at the latest radar, you can see Sioux Falls getting some heavy snow right now, and Minneapolis just now starting to see some snow in the metro. So if you were planning on heading in that direction, might want to hold off and let this make its way through before you start to work your way southward here. And that may not be until tomorrow if you want to avoid the snow. Here in the valley, we are on the north side of this system, so we're getting the clouds associated with it. And in some cases, we may even see a few flurries. Just flurries. That would be about it as this storm continues to make its way through. Here's our view in Fargo right now, looking pretty quiet on the Red River Bridge. We've got temperatures into the teens and 20s. It's 26 degrees in Fargo. And, we'll see those temperatures go up a degree or two this afternoon, but slightly cooler than yesterday. We've got a big warm up in store, though, for later on in the forecast, and a look at a bigger storm system affecting us right here in the valley. So when I come back, we'll talk about that and a look at your weekend planner, too, in just a couple of minutes.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Leaders gathered at the Washington National Cathedral for World War II Memorial and the funeral of late Senator Bob Dole. President Joe Biden gave a eulogy. Notable guests include Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, Tom Hanks, and Savannah Guthrie. Elizabeth Dole, wife of the late senator, laid a wreath in her husband's honor. Dole became a U.S. Senator in 1969 and held the office until 1996. He will be laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. 2 men have been indicted on murder charges in a fatal beating on the Fort Berthold reservation. The FBI says Edward Finley and Kenneth Grady punched and kicked 38-year-old Valentino White Jr., killing him. It happened in Newtown back in October. According to the federal affidavit, investigators say White pulled a knife, at which point Finley and Grady started beating him in an assault that lasted at least a minute. Both are scheduled to be arraigned next week. 33-year-old Katie Erdahl is facing charges after allegedly having a sexual relationship with an underage student. Erdahl was a school teacher at Burke Central in western North Dakota. Investigators say Erdahl admitted to the sexual encounter with a student, adding that it happened at her home. She has submitted her resignation. The corruption of a minor charge she faces carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. Berthold police arrested a man with more than 1 ounce of methamphetamine and 199 fentanyl pills in his vehicle. 38-year-old Dwight Canady Jr. was arrested late Wednesday night after a canine alert led to the search of Canady and the vehicle. Canady is being charged with possession of methamphetamine with intent to deliver, possession of fentanyl with intent to deliver, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of a controlled substance in a correctional facility, in addition to tampering with evidence. Records show a relative few North Dakotans with low-level marijuana convictions have taken advantage of a policy to change their records and have them wiped clean. In the past 2 years, only 70 people have applied for pardons and 51 have been granted so far. Attorney General Wayne Stenjum estimates as many as 175,000 convictions could be eligible for pardons under the new policy. To qualify, they need to avoid unlawful behavior for 5 years. Now that 16 and 17-year-olds can get COVID boosters, families are lining up in some areas to get the vaccine. The push for boosters is gaining urgency, with at least 42 states seeing hospitalizations go up in the past week. One hospital in Pennsylvania is running at 120% capacity. The majority of cases are linked to unvaccinated people catching the Delta variant, though the number of cases has jumped nearly 16% nationwide.
We have a lot of community transmission going on. And when you have a lot of community transmission going on and there's lots and lots of opportunities for people to be intermingling, you run the risk of these numbers continuing to grow.
Infections are rising across the country, including in Minnesota, from both the Delta and Omicron variants. While almost 200 million Americans are fully vaccinated for COVID-19, as well as Minnesotans, Governor Walz is urging people to get vaccinated, get a booster shot, and follow COVID protocols. Coming up at noon, a California man puts on a display that would even impress Clark Griswold himself. But next, weather to plan your day with meteorologist Lisa Green. Stay with us.